Hi, my name is Myra Tanksley, and I'm recording this on October the 28th, 2019. And I am the single proud parent of a 26-year-old son who has autism. I am a Christian. I am a professional nurse of over 30 years. And my son has high functioning autism. His name is Marquis. He and I, but especially him, well, directly me too, but especially him. He has been a suffering victim of ongoing abuse, neglect, and exploitation by very racist, wicked, evil people in the government. I have never abused or neglected my son or exploit them. However, they took my guardianship away. I have been a whistleblowing mom. I'm not intimidated by wicked, racist, unjust, evil, corrupt people. And they took my guardianship away so that they could protect themselves because my son is high functioning. He does have autism, but he can tell me things, and they know he can tell me things. And then I have also exposed them. I have 4 Facebook pages exposing the abuse and neglect of my son. It's not all the evidence that I have, but it shows that I'm not full of hot air, and neither is my son. It's not just our imagination. And one of the pages that I have, because I have 4 of them, and I might as well tell you the name of them. The first one is the abuse and neglect of autistic Marquis Tanksley by the government. The second one is Justice for Autistic Marquis Tanksley. The third one is the audio tapes of autistic Marquis Tanksley, his suffering, abuse, and neglect. And then I created the last one was called, or is called, because all 4 of them are on there. The last one is called Let Marquis Go, Free Him from His Suffering and Abuse. So they have not allowed me to have any contact with my son since last year. They have not allowed us to see each other in over 4 years. And like I said, I've never abused him or neglected him. But this helps them because I'm an evidence girl. I will get photographs, make recordings, documents, and on the justice page, you can see some of the evidence that I have. I have it also on the abuse and neglect page as well. So that protects them. And, of course, a lot of this is racism, too. I'm African American. They can't say that I abused my son or beat him or I'm uneducated. Matter of fact, I'm going back to school now. I'll be graduating in March. I've been a nurse for, 33 years now. I'm not an ignorant woman. I am an intelligent woman. And I know when I deal with corrupt, wicked, evil, racist people, I make sure that I get evidence. I just believe in evidence. And I don't have to make it up. When you got a fruit tree or an apple tree, you can expect for apples to grow on it. So a bad tree is not going to bear good fruit. A good fruit or a good tree is not going to bear bad fruit. So you don't have to make up stuff on sick, racist people. It'll come out. That'll be one of their outcomes. You just got to make sure that you're able to gather in the information and evidence. So that is what I have done. And my 4 pages on Facebook shows that. But like I mentioned, there's a lot of racism in this because they can't accuse me of really in the real, if you get down to the real nitty gritty, the truth is that all I have ever done was advocated for my son. But as a black mother, I'm not supposed to do that. And the only thing, and which is false, that they have said about me, or they could say, and it is false, is that I escalate my son. And I said, well, now, so when the white kids or teenagers or adults, no matter what age group, that have autism, when they're having meltdowns at home with their parents, who is escalating them? A meltdown is what the autism community, which is very racist, but they usually call it meltdowns. And it's just when, you know, the person with autism or the child or whatever age group, you know, they have behaviors. They might have aggression, physical aggression, verbal aggression. So they call it meltdowns. But I always was falsely accused of escalating my son. And when I would come to visit him, of course, he would vent to me. I said, he has a right to vent to his mother. And maybe if y'all didn't treat my son like an animal, he could tell me, you know, pleasant things instead of, you know, telling me how he's being abused and neglected and how he's getting sensory overload and the place is too noisy and who's hitting him and, you know, all the negative things and bad things that you all are not supposed to be doing when you deal with people that have disabilities. And I said, he has a right to vent to his mother. So they didn't like that. And I said, well, he's venting to me, not because of me. And maybe if you treated Marquis better, he could say, Mom, I had a great time today. I love this place. He has never told me that. But he would just, and that's why I decided to make the audio tape page. And I said, I'm going to let people hear Marquis from his own mouth and his own words. And what I had to hear as a mother, you know. But they could hear his suffering, him describing abuse and neglect and being assaulted and the emotional pain and the physical pain. And like I said, a lot of this is racism because racist, sick white people try to dehumanize black people all the time. It's been that way since 1776. And of course, they're in denial about it because they don't have a clue about racism. A lot of them don't know what it means. They don't know what it means compared to being a racist or prejudice or bias. And the racism with the ism as a suffix, you know, should kind of give them a clue because they claim to be so smart, but they're very ignorant. And, of course, they always try to dehumanize black people and try to tell us what we're going through. I'm living this thing with my son, and when I got to get accused of escalating my son, when all he's doing is venting to me because of the way they have treated him, and you don't tell the white parent, I said, I know they're not telling white mothers and white fathers, you escalate your son or daughter when they have meltdown. I know they're not telling them that. But that's what they told me, you know, the black mother, the unfit black mother stereotype. And racism is so sick. And the majority of white people in America are racist. And they don't have a clue. They go into denial, which is a sickness because you ought to be able to face the truth and acknowledge the truth. And a person in denial cannot acknowledge the truth. Even when there's evidence, they will not acknowledge the truth. But, you know, they try to dehumanize. I said, because I mean, I love my child just as much as they love their sons and daughters, or whether they're disabled or not. I love my child just as much as they love the kids or the brats that they got. But it just shows how they don't care about black people. It's like we don't have no rights, we don't have no feelings, we don't, you know, we're not human. I said, they treat black people like they're crap in this country. But vengeance doesn't belong to us. Because God said he'll handle that. That's a great big offense to God. Because it sure ain't loving your neighbor as yourself. And besides loving God, that's the greatest commandment. Jesus said there's a second one that's just like the first one, that everything, you know, falls upon. That's where you get the 10 Commandments. And it's loving your neighbor as yourself. And there's plenty of people going to hell because of the way that they hate other people. And that's why I say I'm not impressed. You know, I've been a nurse for a long time. I've seen some hateful, racist, nasty nurses. And, you know, I wouldn't let them take care of my dog if I had one because they're not people person. You know, they're racist, they're biased. They're not there because they care about people. They're there for the prestige or the money, the initials behind the names and that sort of thing. You know, there's not a genuine caring for especially all people. So, and then you see people that will get in professions so they can practice their racism. So, you know, a lot of people I have seen don't really understand the terms and the meanings. And that's a lot of white people, but not all white people are racist. The majority of them are in this country, or they benefit from racism, which is a white phenomenon in this country because of the definition of what it means. If you know what it means, it's a white phenomenon in this country. But the ones that are not racist can't acknowledge that there's racism in this country because they're not in denial. That's why you see them out there marching, you know, when it comes to civil rights issues, including police brutality. And not all policemen are terrible. I met some nice ones and stuff. But I'm not going to be in denial. There is police brutality in this country. But the white people that do participate in, civil rights marches, and they have done it throughout the history of this country, have been able to acknowledge that there's racism in this country. They're not in denial about it. And they'll get out there and they'll march for Black Lives Matter, which is not a racist organization. They had to be created because it didn't seem like Black Lives Matter when you're out there, treating the black suspects and shooting them down like dogs versus, because racism is not complicated. White people try to complicate it and pass the ball to black people when black people are the victims. It's just they always have treated the victim race, which has been blacks and other minorities, differently and negatively. It's not really hard to understand. And that's why you had the different outcomes. But they'll go about and try to say black people are racist. And black people are not racist. It's not racist to tell somebody, get off your foot or you're standing on my neck. So when black people talk about white people, they're not, it's from a different, they're operating out of anger and being hurt and being angry at being oppressed. Where white people operate, when they do racism, they operating out of hatred and superiority, the bastard race, where black people are hurt being treated that way and knowing that it's because they're not white. Two distinct, different things. And when I say what I just said, and I'll say it because I know I'm telling the truth about it, it ain't because I'm racist. It's because I know what the reason is why me and my son is being treated that way. Me as a black mother, as a black woman that happens to be a mother. And I know it's race. And I can prove that it's race. Now, when my son vents to me, or, because I try to get help for him through DD, MRDD, they call it DD, Developmental Disabilities. And they told me, go ahead and go to Child Corruption Services. Child so-called protection, neglection services. It's not protection. Now I'm looking for treatment and services like you give the white families. Because you really got to fight. When you got somebody in school, when you got somebody with a developmental disability. And they said they weren't going to help me. But then when I went to them, they wanted to say that I was abusing my son or neglecting him so that they could give me services because they had to take custody of them when you try to get services for them. I said, well, you ain't got to slaughter and slander the mother when you need to be helping a child with that's what your agency is about, besides the developmental disability agencies. But all they ever done was falsely accuse me and blame me for Marquis's behaviors due to autism. But they would blame me. Sometimes they blame him and just repeatedly neglect and abuse him. And I can prove it. I said, I got all the evidence that I can prove that. That's why nobody won't come out and say, oh, cease and desist. I'm going to have my lawyer jump all over you. They're not going to say nothing to me because they know that I'm for real, and I got the evidence to back it up. If we really went down to the real nitty-gritty, and I put that evidence out there, of course they would have to give me time. I got so many, because I got, it's like an army. The whole system stack up against you. because all of them racist, all of them scratch each other's back. They all, you know, they work in concert with each other. You know, they go along to get along. And so you got all this army in all kind of different agencies, the courts, the different judges, you know, all these politicians, they all work together. So I have had to collect a lot of evidence on different people. And of course, I have had to make sure that I collected the dirt and stuff so that I can, because it's been going on for several years now. And I have to record, and I have to, you know, keep records and all that kind of stuff. And like I said, it's just an army full of corrupt, racist, evil, wicked people. And the Bible talks about injustice, and God is not happy with it. But he said, vengeance is mine, I will repay. And it'll be him that brings Marquis home, because there's a very wicked, racist lawyer that they appointed as his limited guardian. Her name is Erin L. Sanford. She used to be with the Mashburn Law Group, but I don't know. Something happened, and so she ended up with this little Nye Law Group. And she is afraid, and the Lord told me that, said she's afraid to let you see Marquis. Because remember, I ain't lay eyeballs on him since 2015. And the last time I seen him was because of my own efforts, because he had told me on the phone that he would be leaving because he goes to counseling due to a mandate from the U.S. Department of Education. After I filed a complaint against Columbus City Schools for throwing Marquis in the seclusion closet, because he's been mistreated by a lot of people. I don't know anybody that's been mistreated like he has. And here he is, innocent, wonderful, and disabled. And the Lord said, don't worry, I'm going to vindicate it. He said, but she doesn't want you to see him. She's afraid for you to see what kind of condition he's in. Because he's been abused, you know, just in every way, neglected. He used to eat 3 meals a day and snacks and drink through the day. And he would tell me that he hasn't eaten. One time he's eating crackers, or he'll tell me he only eats like once a day because he's not hungry. And because of the staff, he's afraid of the staff. He said there wasn't hardly no food. And he'll say, oh, I'm not hungry, to the staff, because they're afraid. He's afraid that they probably would, you know, get mad if they had to cook him something. And I'm going like, but at home he ate 3 meals. My son had a healthy appetite. And, you know, his hair, they just go to the pictures on the other pages, especially the abuse and neglect pages, because it's painful when I even talk about this stuff. But I would have to come in there. I said, I wonder how that racist trash would feel if they had to come in there and seen their son or daughter, especially if they're disabled, the way I've seen Marquis. It just tears your heart up. And you know he's being abused and neglected. And then, or, you know, you hear him telling you how they're treating him and the pain he's going through. It just tears your heart up. It just tears your heart up. And the Lord said, don't worry, I will deal with this. But I have realized as a Christian, and the Lord teaches me every day, he said, just have faith in me. And you know I do things at my own appointed time. We don't need to tell God when to do it and how to do it. But God does things at his own appointed time. He said, and yeah, I'm going to bring Marquis back home, but pray for him. He said, you got it on Facebook. He said, but when I bust this thing wide open, I'm going to bust it wide open. I will drag them people through the mud. He said, but my ways are higher than your ways, and God has his own appointed time when he does things. And that's only hope me and Marquis got. But she is so afraid for me to see what kind of condition he's in. Because they were using him as a guinea pig and had him getting light treatments because his skin was all messed up. I said, my son ain't had no problems with his skin when he was at home living with me. But, you know, they wouldn't let him clean himself, and, oh, it's just awful. But he has suffered so much, and he loves and adores me. And I said, they never have had respect for the black family. There ain't nothing for them to try to break up our family. And I said, because I'm not going to forget about my son. I said, but that just shows how they hate black people. and, dehumanize it. I said, but why would they think, am I supposed to walk away from Marquis and forget about my son just because that trash has him? But like I said, it shows how much deep hatred they have for black people and how they don't think anything of us. They don't even think we're human. But I said, I'm not going to give up on Marquis, and I'm not going to give up on God because he's got all power and control. And he'll let a situation exist like this until he comes in and show himself strong and proud. And they'll know there's a God. They'll know that me and Marquis has Jesus on our side when all's said and done. But God hates injustice, just like he hates any other sin. And when he talks about injustice, that's who he's talking about. He's not talking about any average Joe on the street. He's talking about people that are employees of the so-called legal system. I call it illegal system. But, the judges, the magistrates, lawyers, or lawyers, court investigators, caseworkers, court clerks, all of that scum that work in the so-called legal system. And God is very angry with it because I read the Bible 4 times all the way through, and the Bible is full of scripture about injustice and racism too. But that don't send you to hell. That will send you to hell. Other than they're not, accepting Jesus as your Lord and Savior, mistreating people. And I said, I wonder how many of those people, the ones that do believe in God, are Christians. And then Monday through Friday, they go on and oppressing people and stuff. And, practicing injustice and corruption. And God will punish people for the way you treated other people. That's not loving your neighbor. And it's a big thing to God because Jesus said, I'm going to say to people, whatever you've done to the least, and that doesn't mean that they're not human or you're better than them. It just means that they might have some a position or a social status or a social determinant that has put them in a least position. They might not have as much money. They might not have all the resources and stuff. But Jesus said, what you have done to them, you have done to me. Whether you have done something for them positively or you have, he called it, you have neglected them. If you have neglected them, then you have neglected me. Because when you look at the parable of the Good Samaritan, Jesus was talking about the different races versus the Samaritan versus the Jewish, and it was the Samaritan that, he didn't say the good man, he said the good Samaritan, so he made a point that it was a different racial group or a different people category that helped this man that happened to be beaten by robbers and left for dead, and he was Jewish, and it was a Samaritan, which was a opposing race of people to the Jews that helped this man. So Jesus attacked that. And then he also showed us that if you're neglecting to help another person, then you are neglecting them. Because he asked the man that he told the story to, he said, well, in your opinion, who was the neighbor to him? He said, it was the person that was kind to him. And he said, you go and do likewise. So when you see a neighbor, which is anybody as far as God is concerned, any race of people, and they need your help. That's why I give money to people when I see them out in the street. And 95% of the time, 98% of the time, they're white. I don't see them as white. I just see them as a neighbor that needs some help. And I tell them, it ain't because of me, Myra Tanksley, I'm giving you this money. It's because of Jesus that's in me. You have to give your life to Jesus because he can help you. But Jesus said, when you see your neighbor that needs help, you need to respond. And then he broke it down when he said, I'm going to tell people, well, when they're going to say, when did we see you hungry and didn't feed you, or naked, didn't clothe you, or didn't help you when you were sick or in prison? He said, when you had done it to the least, you didn't do it to me. Or if you did do it, then you did it to me. So God expects for you to respond in action to people that are in need of help. And you can see illustrations and examples of that in the Bible. But like I said, Jesus himself, what you have done to the least, you've done it to me. I expect for you to help people. Now, how you can help people when you hate them? You can't help people. And then God said in the book of 1 John, and then I'm going to get back to my son and stuff, and this tape. But what he said in 1 John, God said, well, how can you say you love me who you have not seen and love your brother and hate your brother who you do not see or you have seen? Now, you'll find that in the book of 1 John, not the Gospel John. How can you say you love God who you have not seen and hate your brother who you have seen? And you got these people working these jobs Monday through Friday, service professions, and they might even be Christians, headed straight to hell because of the hatred that they harbor in their heart. And of course, you cannot get rid of racism with laws, because Jesus said all of that stuff comes from the heart. And then it's got a lot of psychological damage, where the psychological damages of slavery is still in whites and blacks in this country. But the origin of sin comes from the heart. And that's where I get my truth from. I get it from the Bible. That's where the authority is. It's from God's word. It's from God himself. And Jesus said that stuff comes from the heart. You gotta have that heart cleaned out by Jesus. The heart has to be changed. You can't change racism with laws. And you really can't change racial behaviors. I mean, this country's always been racially ill and sick, but you still got racism that's practiced. It has not eradicated racism in this country because the heart needs to be changed. That's what you got, affirmative action. You get mad about affirmative action. I said, well, if you were to treat black people like they were human, they wouldn't have to, and give them a chance and stop discriminating against them and trying to dehumanize them, then you wouldn't have to have civil rights law and affirmative action. That's in response to the way you're treating black people. You ain't got no business be hating them. I said, because black people ain't being the aggressor. They didn't lynch and go and get thousands of lynch mobs and go around hanging white people over and over and over and over again, and they didn't own you as slaves. What you mad at black people for? I said, black people, when they, like I said, if they say, I don't like white people, it's not because they think they're superior or they hate your white skin. They're operating out of anger and hurt and oppression that black people have had in this country. And it ain't the same thing as a white person just hating black people that have been victims and just hate black people because they think they're better and they're the master race and stuff. Two different things. And the older I get, I say, I ain't got time for ignorance, because you need to know your definitions when you speak about this stuff. And like I said, you wouldn't believe how many white people in this country are ignorant of racism. But then again, like on my Facebook page, on a couple of pages, I have like an animated flag waving, and it's like where, it's animated. You can see, but it's upside down, and it's American flag. And some old sick white woman said, "Should I wave my flag upside down? Tell me the reason why I should wave." I never said that in the post because I wrote, a post with it, and I never said anybody should wave the flag upside down. And I had to ban her too. She never came back. I don't think I banned her. I deleted a comment or I answered or something, but I never heard back from her. I said, well, I never told you or anybody else to hang your flag upside down or wave it upside down. I'm doing that because of me and my son's experience. I don't expect for you to do it because your experience is different from mine. And if America been good to you and you done got your life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and your freedoms, and you done living your American dream, then you wave your flag upright. Because I live in a racist neighborhood. And I got neighbors that wave that American flag. Live right next door to me. It doesn't bother me. They're white. They got white privilege. Their experience is not my experience. So they're going to feel patriotic, if you know what I'm saying. I said, but I'm not going to sit up there because I won't even stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance. I really don't care about the national anthem either. But I said, I'll never, because I had stopped standing up for it and saying it. Well, I would stand up, but I wouldn't put my hand on my heart and pledge allegiance. And see, that's what Colin Hayes, when he kneels down for the national anthem, he's looking at the meaning of it and saying, no, wait a minute, this is not practicing what you preach. So I don't, like I said, I don't care about the national anthem, but I won't stand up for a Pledge of Allegiance. I'm not going to stand up and say life and liberty and justice for all the stuff. I said, my son ain't living no justice for all. He can't even see his own mother. A loving, professional, supportive Christian mother. And me as a mother, I'm a victim. I haven't. The system has hidden and isolated my son from me. I'm not going to stand up and say it. I'm not going to let anything come out of my mouth because I would feel like I'm lying. I said, I'm living this stuff personally in my own life. So I can't stand up there and say, oh, I pledge allegiance to the flag, blah, 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 with life, liberty, and justice for all. I can't say that because it's not true. And I don't give a darn who doesn't like it. And I'll tell these white people, you can deny it all you want. You ain't living this. And that's another thing other than, taking, your rights and trying to dehumanize you and treat you like you're not a human being. They try to tell you how it is and how it was and all. I'm living this thing. You don't have a clue. Wave your flag. And that's why I told her. I said, well, no, I wouldn't expect for you to wave your flag upside down because your experience is not me and my son's experience. It's not the same thing. But then you're going to try to tell black people how, like you're going to try to tell me, And they have always done that. They'll tell black people, oh, no, you just racist. This ain't happened to you, And I just don't, I said, no, let's not go there. So anyway, what I'm doing, I'm making recordings of my son and let people hear from, from his own words, the things that I had to hear. And it would just tear my heart apart, And he's describing abuse and neglect and racism and mostly abuse and neglect and emotional pain. And, oh, God, he being assaulted. And he was assaulted by staff, more than one, at least 4 different guys, different occasions, not all at the same time. I'm fighting to get him away from my son, fighting to get, they just swept it under the rug. Lord knows, Jesus knows I ain't lying. That's why I said when he vindicates, because I seen him put down a Jewish attorney that treated me and Marquis like crap, and very arrogant because God hates pride. racist, wicked Jewish lawyer. Next thing I know, the Lord made me get a newspaper at Walmart one day to see his name in the obituary. And the Lord came to me. You know how the Lord speaks to you down. And he said, I did that. Vengeance is mine, I will repay. And this is a warning to his the friends in the system that he had. He said, you ain't got to try to seek revenge. I'll get it. My way, my time. And I said, Lord, I hope you let me see when you get the rest of them. Because God ain't happy with the way my son's been treated, and me too. But Marquis ain't done nothing to nobody. He ain't a criminal. And that racist piece of, that witch, that Erin Sanford, she was up there trying to get me to Skype with Marquis. I said, we're not inmates. I'm not a criminal, neither is he. But she don't want me to get up close to him and stuff because, all the scars and, all the signs. Because I had to come in there, and I got them. I got pictures of it. And it ain't all of the pictures. All of the pictures I have on there is not all of my photographic evidence, but it's enough to show that I'm not full of hot air. And I have to go in there, and I would see unexplained bruises and scars and some things he would tell me about. And that's another reason why they don't want him talking to me, because Marquis could tell me things. And they know he'll tell his mother, they move me or so-and-so pull my arms and all that kind of stuff, And I said, when you get the rest of them, I said, I hope you let me see it. But sometimes God will just move them out of the way. Sometimes you're so evil, it'll take you off the planet. That's what he did with David A. Belinsky, the Jewish lawyer. That thought, I said, bad enough if you could corrupt and abusive, but to sit up and he sit up and brag about I run over people in court because I got a big mouth and stuff. And I was thinking, I said, I wonder if this idiot knows that he is offending God. And then as he talked about his abuse and corruption and thought he was a phenomenon and all that, I felt a warm, hot anger. It was warm, but then it was like anger. And I'm going like, what is this? I said, it's not coming to me, from me, and it's not coming to me. And after all said and done, I realized it was the wrath of God. But the Lord let me find out how he dealt with him. And if you read the Bible, you'll see God will deal with sin and sinful people and nations or whatever, organizations in different ways. But he does punish sin. And this man was so evil, he just took him off the planet and let me find out about it. Because ain't nobody called me and told me. The Lord made me get the newspaper that day. Maybe spin around in Walmart and go back and get that paper. And I didn't even have to sign up for him for the man to give me a free newspaper. But that's how he let me know what happened to David Blinken. So on this, on that page, I'm putting in audio tapes of my son. Him telling me about all the stuff that he was going through, the abuse, the neglect, the assault, the sensory overload, him loving me and missing me and want to be back home, him for crying and begging me, because and they would get mad because he would tell me stuff. And then when he would and I said, well, he's not going to be real quiet about it. He's in pain, he's sad, he's angry, and, he's disabled. So when he would yell, mother hurt me and crying and stuff, they blame me they would blame me for that. Now these supposed to be professionals. I said, but look what he's saying. He ain't saying, Mom, I hate you, Mom, I'm mad at you and stuff. He was telling me about the way y'all were treating him, begging me to get him out of there. And these are supposed to be so-called professional. I had a woman come in there. Yeah, I'm coming here because I don't want him to be escalated. And I started saying, you wicked, racist, white witch. You need to get on. I didn't tell her that, but that's the way I felt about it. I told her, I said, no, he could talk to me. Because he's only telling his mom what y'all putting him through. Stop treating my son like an animal, then maybe he can say, Mom, this is a great place. Maybe his conversation would change. You wicked witch. That's what I started to tell her. But I told her, I said, he got a right to talk to me. Because they didn't like for him telling me things. That's why they won't let me talk to him now. But I am a Christian. I got God on my side, me and Marquis' side. And I'm just looking for not only Marquis coming back home, I said, and we're moving on. I said, Marquis' life belongs to Jesus, and so do mine. And so do theirs. because he's got power and authority over every evil thing. He has overcome the world. I said, but Lord, when you spike them booties, please let me see it. I want to see it. Like you let me, I said, you done spoil me. You let me know about the Jewish lawyer that you removed out off of this planet, because they said he just fell out at home. He was not in the hospital when he died. You know, being hospitalized for maybe a week and all that. He just fell out at home. You know, God said, enough is enough, because God will do that. There's certain ways that he would deal with, you know, people. And I said, I'm going to make this audio tape pay. So on this audio tape, it's from December. No, it's not. It's from January 2013. And I have tapes all the way up to the last time I spoke with Marquis, which was last year in December 2018. And this one is from January 2013. And he was at Columbus Developmental Center, state of Ohio. It's just so much stuff. So much ongoing abuse and neglect. But it was the state of Ohio ICF MR facility, which is an intermediate care facility for the mentally retarded. And they had illegally put Marquis over there. Illegally committed him. Because you have to be a low-functioning MR, basically. You know, a low-functioning person with MR to really be committed over there. And Marquis is not mentally retarded. He's autistic, and he's high-functioning. Just give me a little bit background. So on this particular day, I came to visit him, and I like bringing him Long John Silver, because that's one of his favorites. He liked Long John Silver. When I got over there, they told me I couldn't see him because he had ran across the street. He had eloped ran across the street. I said, well, how in the world did he get across the street? Well, it was a fire drill, and he ran. Well, they never let me see him. They knew that he was injured because he said he had cut his hand because he went across the street onto a porch. Went up across the street to a house, ran up on the porch, and knocked out the windows with his hands because of the fire drill triggered him. Because these people don't know nothing about autism. At least not with my son. And as it turned out, they had kept Marquis out of the cottage. They had isolated him and put him in one of their other buildings. And he was actually in those buildings by himself, or that building by himself. So when they had a fire drill, there was no staff over there supervising Marquis. There was no staff in that building with my son. So when the fire drill occurred, he ran out, and he was naked. He told me he was naked, that he had ran out across the street. Now, it's a big thing because not only did they fail to do their duty for my son's safety, he could have got hit by a car, somebody could have shot him, you know, black male, run across the street naked. And you know he probably was, you know, because the fire drill and the noise probably triggered him. It did trigger him. I'm going to say it triggered him and put him in sensory overload. And later on, when I talked to Marquis and asked him, he's the one that told me he was naked. And he told me he was scared because the fire drill made him scared, and he just ran out. And then the house that he ran up to was a vacant house because a woman had died. The woman that lived there died. And one day this is how God works. One day, something just told me to drive down that street. And I looked up, it was a man putting in windows where, you know, Marquis had hit it and knocked him out. So I stopped, turned on my tape recorder, and I asked him, he said, no. He said, oh, your son did that? And he said, well, the state of Ohio said they will pay me for this, but I have to give them like $25 and a whole bunch of, I had to fill out a bunch of forms. He said, but this is what really happened. He said, because the man told me, he said, they didn't even know your son had came over here. said that he got out on his own because nobody was with him. And that Marquis actually told them he did it. He said, but there was nobody with your son. They didn't even know he was gone. And then when I got to thinking, I said, he's got that. That's right, because they got Marquis over there in that building by himself. And probably on that day, wasn't no staff over there. And it scared my son, him being autistic, and the noise, and he ran out. He just went across the street. And God was with him, you know, because like I said, somebody could have shot at him and said he was a wild man, and or he could have got hit by a car, and you know, because he's running because he's being triggered, or the noise just scared him and stuff, and he was trying to run away. And you know, my heart has cried an awful lot, and you will hear that him telling me that he went across Mount Street, and I said, well, let him know that I'm here. Well, he knew you were coming over, but see, he had lied and tried to say Marquis knew that I was coming over here, but he still ran across the street. And the guy that told me that, he's deceased, because I seen him again in one of the hospitals that I used to work at. And he eventually died a little later on. But he said, no, your son ran out of that building by himself, and they didn't. He said the guy told me that works over there at CDC. So they didn't even know that he had ran out, and that Marquis even told them and showed them the house. At Capaldi, the racist piece of scum, he's now their superintendent, lied and told me that they were with Marquis, bringing him over to see me when he ran, which is a big lie, because they probably would have tackled him, because he had to run across the campus. I mean, there's plenty of grass, because we're talking about a state facility. So if they were with him, they would have been able to tackle him. There was no way Marquis would have reached that house, because he ran across the street to the house. And I got pictures of the house after Marquis had hit the windows and stuff. So Capaldi lied to me. The trash lied to me. Because there's no way Marquis would have been able to reach that house. The staff would have restrained him or took him down or did something. And I got the tape of that man telling me that. I got so many tapes. I got hundreds of tapes and photographs. But anyway, I'm going to get to this and let you hear this. Because the first part of this, you could hear me calling Capaldi, because they will always, no, you can't see him when they have let him get injured, or they have restrained him, or staffed and beat on him. And if they know that I can see, you know, bruises and see signs of abuse and assault and neglect, they wouldn't let me visit Marquis. And that would go on sometimes for weeks. So I still call and ask about it. I said, what, you know, I know y'all hate black people, but I'm not just going to walk away. And I love my son just as much as they love the brats they got. I'm not going to just walk away and forget about my son. And that's just the way I feel about it. So I would still call, and you can hear me telling him that, you know, I was concerned about him, and I want to visit my son. And then you'll also hear, after that, you'll hear Capaldi, Rob Capaldi, the trash, telling me that Marquis ran across Mount Street and lying on Marquis. I said, when you lie on a disabled person, you ain't nothing but dung. You just the scum, the lowest of the low. Because they said Marquis ran across the street when they were bringing him over to me, to see me, to visit me. And that was a lie. Because Marquis even told me that he said, the fire drill scared me. But the man that worked at CDC, not Rob Capaldi, one of the other ones that work in that office over there, he told that man what really happened. And the man told me. And I happened to drive by there. God sent me down there because he didn't live there. His mother used to live there, but she died. And he happened to be out there that day, you know, trying to repair those windows. So here is the tape. This is a little grainy because I'm still at this point recording on micro cassettes. Pretty soon I'll be using tapes that were recorded on a voice recorder and stuff, so it should be a whole lot better. So here we go. So I had called CDC, left a message with Rob Capaldi on January the 14th, 2013, to try to see Marquis. I told him I was concerned about him, that they had not allowed me to see him in over a week. And I left my number.
Thank you very much. Bye.
This next conversation, the party telling me Marquis had rent across the street. I might hear reimburse me for it, trying to bribe me.
been having a wonderful bonded relationship ever since he came out of my belly. And, he needs to see his mom, Bernie just, she shakes her head and stuff. How about letting mom see him and comfort him? So I want to talk to him, knowing what he just went through, because it probably scared him the life out of him and stuff like that. And I want to report on my son's injury so they know before they come. Can he have the comfort and support of his mom?
So there you have it. He wouldn't let me see Marquis. Then I was asking him and trying to explain to the idiot that Marquis needed the comfort support of his mother. And he had a right to the comfort support of his mother. And then you heard the lying piece of scum, Rob Capaldi, try to blame Marquis. In this situation, he was blaming Marquis and trying to blame me. Well, he knew you were here for Long John Silver, but when he was coming over here, that's when he did that. Now, you think they would allow him to go up to her house? They would have tackled him and restrained him before he would even been able to get to the edge of the street. But he was trying to blame us. And but the guy told me, he said, oh, no. He said, and I forgot the guy's name, but I got it on tape. And he said, they said that they didn't even know your son had left that building. And that Marquis pointed the house out to him. So my son must have went back across the street. And he pointed, they found that he was naked. And he told them that he hit a house, that he was scared. And the man said that they told him that they didn't even know Marquis was gone. And Marquis pointed the house out to them. But that's how they would lie on Marquis, too. Now, they slander me like no tomorrow. And I shouldn't have told that idiot. There's no way in the world Marquis would have been able to. If y'all were with him, like you're trying to say that you were bringing him over to see me, if y'all were with him, y'all would have. There's no way he would have won, because the campus is too big. He would have never reached that street, let alone a house. So anyway, I got to get ready and get off of here because you only got 60 minutes. And I love you, Marquis. God's going to bring you back home. I believe it's going to be in 2020. I love you. You can find this on the audio tape page. There's many more to follow. I got 100 more tapes that I'm going to put out here. But I wanted to highlight this and show how they lied not only on me, but my son. And and this is a program director that works for a state facility in Ohio. But that's the trash, the racist trash that we got in our lives. And this happened back, in 2013. And like I said, nobody's going to say anything to me. Anyway, I got to go. Thank you for listening. I love you, Marquis, and Jesus is Lord. Thank you.